everyone, today I've got with me Cath, the technology director and my stakeholder, Alex, the head of people and my manager. Today we're going to be talking about the inclusive management, how to be an inclusive manager. But first things first. On a scale from 0 to 10, how easy it is to understand my lovely Polish accent? Right?
Mondays 7, other days 9. Mondays you've come in after speaking Polish for 2 days,
Yeah.
and we struggle in the morning, and it's a bit of an in-joke. But 9 normally, I don't have much trouble at all.
And I say 8, but it's a bit harder sometimes when you're excited.
And number 2, we're getting a little bit more serious now. I consider myself feeling included through your actions, both of you. What do you think makes me feel included because of what you do?
Self-reflection. Okay. I think it's because I completely value your point of view and ask your point of view in all situations. I believe I give you the autonomy to deliver and create your own things. I'm not dictating what you need to do, and I'm generally interested in you as a person.
So I think it's the fact that we treat you in the same way as we treat everybody else in our teams.
The technology director.
And the fact that we're not afraid to call out when things get lost in translation, because sometimes they do. But it's a bit harder sometimes when you're excited.
You do, yeah.
From both sides.
To my own as well. And I did say, asking questions, challenging me and being challenged, I really like that both ways. Joking and talking to me. Okay, my next question is, in one of the challenges that people from any kind of shape or form of minorities may have is that they may not feel like that they belong or that they have anything in common with others. So obviously we're from different countries and different level of seniority and different level of life experiences. But do you think there's anything we have in common? With examples.
It listed, yeah. Let's stick with 3, but that's going for 10,000 words.
I could write all day. Yes, absolutely. There are loads of things we have in common, and I could carry on this list all day if we had the time. We have lots of the same values. I often find myself bouncing ideas off you. I think often you're a good barometer to me. We're both curious. We're both caring. We're both, I think, empathetic. We both want to work hard, and we want to be recognised as working hard and doing a good job. And those are just a few of the work-related ones.
I don't think work per se, but I think we definitely care deeply about equality for all, regardless of whether that's gender, sexual orientation, social mobility, that kind of thing. And I really bounce off you, but hopefully vice versa for that. We've got 2 children, both similar ages, so we can at least share the enjoyment and tribulations with that, and running. Although one slightly quicker than the other, but
someone did the half marathon first. It's amazing because I guess what? I put the similar things. I put the value, sense of humor, I put running, and that we care, and I think that applies to both of you. Amazing, thank you.
Do you get any points?
What would you say are the challenges as for a manager to work with diverse teams, or having someone from maybe a different background or minority or whatever that may be? Are there any challenges as such?
Yeah, definitely. I think the hardest challenge is being able to see the world through those people's eyes, because you might be able to easily recognise that they're in a minority, but it's hard to know how that feels to that person and how to address that in a sensitive manner, because I think sometimes you can try too hard and almost make the situation worse. So for me, there's a challenge in terms of understanding how that person feels, and quite often I feel somewhat uneducated about other cultures and other religions, and it's sometimes difficult knowing where the line is about what's appropriate to ask and what's not.
I think for me, it's just hoping that the way you interact with people, you are treating them the same and catching when you feel there may be a bit of a bias, and that there'll be very much unconscious biases. I think also everyone's got different upbringings, and I think the way that I interact with people is obviously a direct relation to that. And sometimes I will probably interact and maybe it'll feel a bit clumsy. But equally, I see things through a completely different lens to everyone else. So what comes out of me, and I've got quite strong opinions on certain things, what comes out from me could be maybe a challenge to others. Certainly if that person that I'm talking to is probably a little quieter, a little more introverted, regardless of gender or background, anything like that, where I may come across as a little bit more forceful in my views, and I need to check that sometimes.
What are the benefits of having a diverse team? In many senses. I know.
What have you got?
Yeah, you put your CV in. It was totally different. It talked about growth mindset, what you valued, what you cared about. I had your work experience as well, but it really talks about that, and I love that because no one else has put that on. And since day one, you've challenged me massively. So having people with different viewpoints, different backgrounds, different experiences, just being challenged by them, being open enough to listen and see what you can learn from them is a massive plus, and I think that's fantastic.
I think in our business in particular, or in digital businesses, where your products have a really wide reach, the more diverse your teams are, the more likely your products are to be successful, because your teams can represent the views of people who might interact with those products. And certainly there's been examples in the past of teams that haven't been diverse and products that have had huge fails. So for me, there's that side of it. There's also the side that I think if you can get a really diverse team working really well together, the team grows just by having diversity in that team, because they start to understand each other, and that is a mindset, and it's a culture that we want to breed.
Is there anything you want to add?
No, I think just expanding on what Cath said and what I said, is just more, you don't realise the experiences you'll get with people from diverse backgrounds until you work with people from diverse backgrounds, and you end up in learning a lot and just being involved in different things in the way that people see things. And I think that is just genuinely exciting and interesting.
It may sometimes be a little bit intimidating to face people at the level of your seniority. So is there any words of wisdom or of reassurance to give about how to find yourself in the big world out there?
I find that a really hard question, because I understand what you're asking and why you're asking it, but I don't see myself as someone who is the kind of exclusive or senior. And I'd like to think that comes across in the way I operate as a manager. I like to try and talk to everybody. I think sometimes I wouldn't assume that if a manager hasn't come over and specifically spoken to you, that's because they have any bias or anything like that. There's so much stuff that we ask of people at work these days, and people are pulled in lots of different directions. But I genuinely believe that whoever you are, whatever level of the organisation you're in, if somebody asks you for some time, even for a coffee or to get to know you, you'll make time to do that. So my advice would be, don't be afraid to do that.
Yeah, definitely don't wait, because I think you don't know how that manager or that senior person feels, what they're like. They might be incredibly introverted and actually be quite hard to make the first move. And I know that sounds like they should do because they're a manager, but sometimes actually having someone approach you and start talking to you can open up that conversation more than anything else, and actually feel more comfortable. And yeah, I have worked in some businesses where I feel that that's probably seniority is given ridiculous respect, but here I think, as Cath said, it's just, everyone's pulled around, get involved in loads of stuff, really exciting stuff, but we will just all spend time with one another and take time to get to know each other. Yeah. And so just don't hold back.
Yeah, absolutely, lovely. And I just asked for myself, I realised that even senior managers are people. So there is no really reason to make artificial barriers in your heads. Actually.
Yeah, I think if you said this the other day, don't put barriers where there are no barriers, there's just no need to put them there.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. How to pronounce my last name? Cath first.
Jaki
Lasher, but I've been trying to teach people that recently.
Yeah.